You were getting those IVs?
I got one yesterday. That's why I'm so bloated.
Yeah, me too. I got one yesterday. I love that man.
Yeah. Stem cells, too. I get stem cell injections.
What? Like a stem on Black Ops?
This week I got 3 different kinds. I got stem cell IV, I got direct inject stem cell, and then they put stem cells in like this inhaler. So like the vapors go in. Yeah, all 3.
Your perception of the world is so different than my perception of the world.
Right.
Like I look at it, I really am like not just glass half full, but glass overflowing. And your mom was a gangster.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like still to this day. Like I remember a lot. I go back to the hood. A lot of dudes be bringing her up, and like I don't want to hear that shit because like in my mind, you was fucking my mama. You know what I'm saying?
When it comes to Bert Kreischer's list of cringe offences, trying to insert himself into hip-hop culture is close to the top of the list, right next to wearing makeup to cover up his purple face and squealing, screeching and snorting into the microphone. It's the equivalent of Andrew Schultz's code switching from flagrant to brilliant idiots. I remember when Bert went on this long-ass rant about how Tupac would have been the best podcaster if he was still alive, and then wondered if they would have gotten along and been friends. That's the level of hip-hop cringe I'm talking about. His desperation to fit in with every single crowd and be accepted by anyone and everyone he comes across is getting worse the older he gets. And there's nothing more cringe-inducing than an aging celebrity trying to stay relevant by any means necessary. And then there's Tom Segura, the 50-year-old hipster millionaire comedian turned edgelord movie director who treats every podcast like a game of chess, strategically inserting himself at precisely timed intervals to convince everyone that he isn't the massive arsehole we know he's become. All of Tom and Bert's worst character traits came out in full force when they had Theo Von and Stavi's love child, that Mexican OT, on the latest episode of Two Bears, One Cave. I don't think I've ever seen a mismatch this big on a podcast before. It was like having Mark Zuckerberg, Alex Jones, and Joey Diaz locked in the same room together. But it ended up being an important podcast for Tom and Bert because finally they realized that they're not the edgy, dangerous comedians that they thought they were. Mexican OT made these guys realize they're just day traders who were in the right place at the right time. And the way he did it was possibly one of the strangest things I've ever seen. I'm definitely going to hell for this one because literally nobody else noticed this. However, that didn't stop Bert from one-upping Mexican OT over and over again with his own stories and having his team of producers pull up old clips of himself to flex on his guest. And of course, we got the customary Bert explaining hip-hop to white people. I just hope his wife couldn't hear what he was saying from the other room.
It's interesting. We were talking about Ralph. I know Ralph doesn't like this being brought up too much, but white people wanted to put Ralph in a box and be like, so you're a Mexican comic. And then Ralph's like, no, I'm a comic. And white people couldn't understand it. And when I see you guys and I see what you guys are doing, you're so authentically you, and you're not what Hollywood or the music industry wants to put in the box. When I saw you fight that fucking bull, that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing I've ever seen on the internet. Pull up me fighting a bull if you could.
You what?
You never saw mine?
Are you fucking me?
I'm being dead fucking serious.
Oh no!
It's a little different than yours.
I believe it, right?
Wait till you see this.
I wish you would bring this show
Bro,
back.
you've been doing
Oh, buddy. Here we go.
Go!
Broke my ribs and broke my foot.
Oh, that quick.
Oh, that quick. I was over. I have one stripper
Yeah.
that I think about.
Wow.
If I ever think about strip clubs, this one stripper.
Nice.
It was Jason Nash's bachelor party. It was in the Valley at a place called Valley Dolls. And she had Cholita tattooed across her stomach.
And sounds like she's going to ruin your life.
I was like, I bet this girl would fucking trash me.
You right?
God.
I don't know, man. Them strip clubs, they too much.
You know, it's so funny. When I was younger, I did. When I got married and I knew that I was allowed to go, I kind of was like, I tried. And I think my wife's older. So, like, we were talking about it. I got a lap dance the other day. And I was like, this doesn't feel like what I'm used to. Like, where are her moles? Like,
Skin's too smooth.
Skin's too smooth. Like, what is this, a fucking volleyball?
Last time I was in
football, something with lumps.
Bert went on that whole authentic artist ramble just so he could bring up his own bullfight. I agree with Tom, though. Bert should definitely bring that show back. I'm thinking Fear Factor meets Hurt Bert, where instead of having contestants, it's just Bert doing gross and dangerous shit to himself. Bert really needs to get his wife's name out of his mouth though. Comparing Leanne to a stripper while she's literally sitting in the next room listening to the podcast as she organizes Bert's life is so fucking disrespectful. Every time he says her name, we need Will Smith to come out from behind the camera and slap him. In this episode though, I think Bert broke his own record for interrupting himself and getting his producer to pull up videos and Google him. Whenever he can't remember something from his own life, he'll yell out for someone to Google it or to go and get Leanne. He was so desperate to impress Mexican OT with videos of when he was younger that it ended up actually working.
Damn, bro. I ain't gonna lie. So you're a bad motherfucker and you're tough, bro. Yeah. You've been doing this for a while. You fucked me up with that shit.
Yeah.
I think that's cool as bro. Like you in general.
What?
Like you're just a bad motherfucker. Those videos you were showing me earlier, that's cool, bro.
No, I was hungry for fame and money. I was a fucking idiot. I love that we're both barefoot.
Yeah.
Can I tell you? I knew you were my guy when you rolled into my house barefoot. I'm like, Tom, how often?
It's such a Bert move.
I am in barefoot. I'm a barefoot motherfucker.
You can do that? Oh, nice.
It's wild.
Yeah,
hey, I opened a soda can at Mike Boosie's house with my toe.
Just at the end there, when Tom was looking down and said, "That's wild," it was because Bert and OT were rubbing their feet together. They're barefoot brothers. Unfortunately, after Mexican OT told Bert how much of a badass he is, everything turned downhill from there. Tom was asking him about what it feels like to go to Mexico when Bert had a sudden realization that he's been living a sheltered and privileged existence basically for his whole life.
I just be living in fear with that shit. I feel like I done heard so many stories. And
There's a lot of crazy stories, for
bro,
sure.
because that shit is real.
That's real, yeah.
That shit completely real.
Well, not if you're white like me. It's not real at all.
Nah, it's
I walk
real.
around Mexico City with a Rolex on. Like, what's up, fellas?
Yeah.
2 TNA cigars?
Nah, but it can happen, though. You got to understand, you got motherfuckers that go home and look at their grandma's stomach, touch their back every day. They don't give a fuck about that shit. I need what you got, you know? I say you got motherfuckers that go home every day and watch their grandmama's stomach touch their back, like they starving.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like you in a cold house.
I liked it better the way you said it. The way I heard it, just dudes going home, touching their grandmother's stomach and then touching the back. I'll be back, grandma.
I'll be back, grandma.
I also had zero understanding of what you said, but I was like, yeah, that does sound scary, man.
Your perception of the world is so different than my perception of the world.
Right.
Like I look at it, I really am like not just glass half full, but glass overflowing.
Yeah.
I see opportunity everywhere, and I think sometimes the problem is you don't realize like that. Yeah, I guess the world doesn't see that way.
Yeah,
not everyone's given just like opportunity after opportunity.
Bert Kreischer finally realizing in his mid-50s that he's been failing upwards his whole life is one of the most Bert Kreischer things I've ever seen. Did his parents seriously never give him the talk when he was a kid that some people have stuff that other people don't, and he was lucky to be born into wealth and privilege? I mean, this guy has adult children, yet he only just realized that maybe life isn't as easy for everyone else as it is for him. And hasn't he been touring the world doing comedy for years? For someone who's been all around the world several times, he really has absolutely zero cultural awareness when it comes to standards of living. Between him and Brendan Schaub, it really makes you wonder how their lives would have turned out if it wasn't for Joe Rogan. But speaking of bomb experts, comedy assassins like Tom Segura have a habit of relating the art and science of stand-up comedy to other art forms, except this time, it didn't go the way he thought it would. Tom's reaction here was perfection.
I want to ask you about rapping, because like in comedy, when you're starting out, coming up, we we bomb sometimes, right? And it's so you're like, yeah, I'm good at this, right? And you go and you just eat shit and it sits with you. You're like, it's like the dirtiest feeling. Do you have moments where you were like, whether it's a freestyle or some shit, and you just eat like as a rapper?
I don't think I've had that moment yet.
No.
But
you're not going to have it now. I meant like when you're like trying to figure it out. Like,
I don't think so.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it was always just working for you.
Yeah. I mean, well, you got to understand.
Bro, you bombed with Bert at the roast of Tom Brady last year, not to mention your most recent appearance on Kill Tony's Netflix debut, where you sat next to Joe Rogan and offered absolutely nothing. And then when you tried to roast the dude who mows lawns for a living about his haircut, Nobody understood what the fuck you were talking about, and then you doubled down and made it worse. These guys spend way too much time working on material at the comedy mothership that they don't realize how shit their act has become until they hit the road and don't have the protection of Joe Rogan's audience. But as for Mexican OT, there was something that he kept bringing up throughout the episode that caught me off guard. And now that I know the background, I feel like a pretty shit person. I don't care though, it's still pretty funny. He seems like a pretty strange dude who had a pretty rough upbringing, but he kept bringing up how his mum used to get railed and how gangster she was. I thought he was just going full Theo Von, but it wasn't until after the podcast that I looked up the background on all of this and it actually started to make sense. So if you guys laugh at this compilation of him talking about his mum getting railed, you're a bad person too, so don't laugh.
Your parents split up, right?
My mama told my dad she was on birth control, I think.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I think so.
And she was 18 when she had you, right?
Yeah.
And your mom was a gangster.
Yeah, 1000%. Like still to this day. Like I remember a lot. I go back to the hood. A lot of dudes be bringing her up, and like I don't want to hear that shit, because like in my mind, you was my mama. You know what I'm saying? For real, because like my mama, my mama, she was living. One day my buddy Boom sat me down and he was like, "Bro, these people really respect your mama." Like he said, I just don't want it. He like, I see you feel that way, and I don't want you to feel that way because you shouldn't. Like
right.
I ain't trying to tell you this to make you feel good. I would just left it alone. To them, like she was black.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just in the hood every day, and just with them thugging, just cool in the bit. Man, I'll show you some pictures of my.
I couldn't find a picture of your mom online.
Yeah,
because you describe, you say every time you hear high heels, you think of your mom.
Yeah, my dad, he would, bro. So he would have all the strip clubs jumping. And and the owners love my dad, the bitches love my dad, so he would bring the house party home every night, Monday through Sunday.
What?
And I'm living with him in the 7th grade, and he would have a house full of women and a few dudes there, and those dudes are there because he met them at the club, and he's like, "Oh, you rap? Ben, watch this, come on," and he'd bring them home, and he'd have me rap battle these grown ass men, and I'd eat them alive, and then one of his hoes would take me to school. Or I'd take the city bus. Or a taxi, not the city bus.
That is such a crazy upbringing story.
Nah,
Like,
yeah,
that
it
is
was crazy. Like I said, man, I was being a kid walking in on my mama, and you know what I'm saying. My listening to my dad, I just always been around it. So
my story is like one time I got to watch a rated R movie that year. Like that's the craziest that happened to me in 7th grade. There was no strippers and rapping with that's wild, dude.
But my parents were kids when they had me,
Yeah.
So I dig it.
Honestly, it wasn't the mom getting railed. I think it was just the way he kept saying your mama that got me. So naturally, I wanted to read up on his background and find out why he spoke about his mum like that. And once I read that she was killed by a drunk driver when he was only 8 years old, it all started to make sense. It's pretty sad that he never got to know her properly, and most of his memories about her were listening to or walking in on her smashing. That's got to really fuck you up as a kid. I mean, just imagine that for a second. Nah, you guys are fucked. I can tell you're all laughing at him. Even Tom and Bert were struggling to hold it in. How would you like it if everyone you met from your old neighborhood had a story about your mama? Brutal. And so by the end of the episode, Tom realized how sheltered his childhood was, and Bert had a glimpse of life in a different body. Okay, hang on, don't worry about that. Back to the mum thing for a second. You know the only reason why Bert Googled photos of his mum was to see if she was hot. I mean, I did too, but bro offered to show Bert photos of her. Seriously, that whole thing was fucking weird. I'm definitely going to hell though. At least he's open and honest about it, I guess. He definitely earned my respect. Anyway, while you're here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos of me being an insensitive douchebag and laughing at people's misfortune. But wait, just one final thought. Why would you bring that up in front of two comedians? Like, I get talking to your therapist and learning different coping strategies for every time you hear a new story about your mama, but don't bring it up on a podcast. It's seriously starting to stress me out now. All right, I've made my point. Shout out to all of you from my main channel who came over here and subscribed. This channel's for you, so I appreciate your support, and a massive shout out to all the sexy mamas out there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
Everyone goes, "Oh, Bert's an alcoholic. Bert's fat." It's like, are you not looking at the guy next to me?
Yeah, right.